You've been told your whole life that if you're kind, respectful, stable, and supportive, you'll win her heart. You believed that if you showed up, gave your best, and stayed loyal, she would finally see your worth. But she didn't. She pulled away. She chose someone else. Or worse, she said, "You're amazing, but I'm just not feeling it." Let me hit you with the truth. She didn't leave because you weren't enough. She left because you never made her feel anything unforgettable. This is the first lesson every Stoic man must swallow if he wants to stop living in confusion and heartbreak. Women don't fall in love with you. They fall in love with the way you make them feel. Not your looks, not your paycheck, not your personality on paper. She's not drawn to your resume. She's drawn to your emotional gravity. And that gravity, it's created not by being nice, but by being present, centered, and unpredictable. It's the quiet tension, the mystery in your eyes, the unshakable calm when she tests you. And she will test you. Here's the brutal truth. Love does not operate on logic. It operates on emotional impact. And emotional impact doesn't come from approval seeking. It comes from living a life so grounded in purpose and self-respect that your energy changes the room when you walk in. So if you're still living by the outdated belief that the good guy always wins, you're not just wrong. You're unarmed in the most dangerous game of modern masculinity. This video isn't about tricks or tactics. It's not about becoming a manipulative player. It's about waking up. It's about seeing women and yourself clearly for the first time. And when you do, you'll realize this. Attraction isn't about what you give. It's about what you are. So stay locked in, because by the time we finish this, you won't just understand why women choose who they choose. You'll become the man they never want to lose. If I become the best version of myself, smart, successful, well-dressed, well-spoken, then women will naturally want to be with me. That sounds logical. That sounds fair. But love isn't fair. And it sure as hell isn't logical. Because a woman isn't falling for your version. She's falling for the emotional experience that being around you creates. And if you don't trigger that, you're invisible. You could have a chiseled jawline, a six-figure income, the deepest values, and still be forgotten within minutes if she feels nothing in your presence. That's why you've seen her obsess over the guy who didn't text her back. The one who teased her, challenged her, made her laugh until her stomach hurt. The one who didn't try to win her, but somehow owned her mind. It's not because he's better. It's because he created a feeling she couldn't stop thinking about. Psychologists call this emotional imprinting, and it's one of the most powerful forces in female psychology. When a woman feels something new, intense, or deeply personal in your presence, her brain locks it in. It imprints your energy, your tone, your unpredictability, and that memory sticks. It follows her long after you leave the room. Now, here's where most men fail. They try to appeal to her logic. They list their accomplishments. They explain why they're a good man. They offer consistency and comfort and validation, like it's a resume interview. But a woman doesn't want to be convinced. She wants to be moved, to be shaken, to be disrupted emotionally. And the man who knows how to do that, not through games, but through presence, he's the one she dreams about at night. Not the polished guy with the checklist of green flags, not the one who follows all the dating rules, but the one who interrupts her emotional pattern. Because here's what women won't tell you. They don't crave safety at first. They crave stimulation. They crave uncertainty. They crave the high. And if all you give her is calm, predictable, nice guy energy, she won't feel safe. She'll feel bored. That's the paradox. Most men think, if I'm gentle and available, she'll feel secure. But the reality is, a woman only feels secure with a man who doesn't need her approval. A man who isn't emotionally swayed by her moods. A man who knows where he's going and doesn't flinch when she tries to test his direction. That's the man who leaves an imprint. Not the loudest, not the richest, but the one who can enter a room and change the atmosphere, not with words, but with the calm intensity of someone who knows exactly who he is. That's you, if you choose to be. But here's the catch. You can't fake this. You can't pretend to be unbothered while secretly obsessing over her response. She'll feel it. She always does. Women are biologically wired to sense emotional incongruence. It's survival. If your mouth says, "I'm good," but your energy says, "Please like me," she knows. And the second she senses that disconnect, she loses interest. So what's the path forward? Simple. Stop trying to be loved. Start mastering your emotional presence. Because when a woman feels emotionally alive around you, when you pull her into a moment so raw that she forgets the world, you become unforgettable. Not because of your looks, not because of your money, but because you awakened a part of her that she didn't even know was asleep. And that's what no woman forgets. Emotion is the currency of female attraction. And the man who knows how to spend it wisely, without chasing, without pretending, becomes the one she never stops thinking about. Now let's go deeper, because there's something else you need to understand. It's not just about emotion, it's about how you position yourself in her world. And the more you chase her, the less she feels. Let's talk about that next. Let's be brutally honest. Every man, at some point, has chased a woman. Maybe you texted her back the moment she replied. Maybe you sent double texts when she didn't respond fast enough. Maybe you rearranged your day, changed your tone, silenced your truth, just to keep her interested. And when it didn't work, you asked yourself, what did I do wrong? Why is she pulling away when I'm giving her everything? Here's the truth most men are afraid to face. Chasing doesn't make you more attractive. It makes you invisible. It's not about effort, it's about energy. And when a man chases, his energy screams one thing: I'm not enough unless you choose me. And no matter how subtle it is, she feels it, not in your words, but in your tension, not in your gifts, but in your vibe. And when she feels you're chasing her validation, her primal brain does one thing: it withdraws. Why? Because chasing kills the very tension that attraction needs to thrive. Attraction isn't built on certainty. It's built on anticipation, on tension, on emotional gravity, on the space between you, not the pressure you create by trying to close the gap too soon. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever wanted something less once it became too easy? A job handed to you, a gift you didn't earn, a woman who said yes before you even finished asking. You lost interest because the brain doesn't value what it doesn't have to work for. Now flip that. The thing you couldn't quite get, the opportunity just out of reach, the woman who gave you just enough to keep you wondering. That's what kept you locked in. And it's no different for her. When she senses that she can have you at any time, without effort, without mystery, without any emotional investment, her brain stops producing the very chemicals that created desire in the first place. This is the psychology of dopamine, the molecule of anticipation, not reward. The second she knows you're hers, she stops chasing, she stops wondering, and worst of all, she stops feeling. Now, here's where most men fail. They feel her pulling away. So they try harder. They call more. They compliment more. They lower their standards. And without knowing it, they're digging their own grave. What does the Stoic man do instead? He doesn't chase. He leads. He sets the tone. He builds the frame. He lets her enter his world, but never begs her to stay in it. Because he knows, the more available you are, the less valuable you become. This isn't about playing hard to get. It's about actually being hard to get. Because your time, your attention, and your energy are reserved for what matters. That includes women, yes, but it also includes your mission, your discipline, your values, your peace. The Stoic man understands. If a woman must earn your presence, she'll value it. But if it's given away freely, it becomes background noise. This is why scarcity creates value, and why mystery creates desire. If she always knows what you'll say, what you'll do, when you'll reply, there is no emotional friction, no narrative in her mind to wrestle with, no tension to resolve. And if there's no tension, there's no obsession. So if you're always texting first, if you're always waiting by the phone, if you're always asking, "What can I do to keep her?" you've already lost. Let go of the mindset that tells you love is something you win by proving yourself. Let go of the idea that more effort equals more affection. Attraction isn't earned through over-availability, it's killed by it. A Stoic man doesn't chase because he doesn't fear loss. He knows that if she leaves, it simply proves she wasn't aligned with his path. He doesn't react. He doesn't explain. He just continues walking with his head high and his standards intact. And ironically, that's exactly what pulls her back. Because nothing draws a woman in like a man she can't fully figure out. A man who doesn't need her, but chooses her carefully. When you chase, she runs. When you walk with purpose, she follows. Master this, and you master the polarity that makes women feel deeply alive. Let's take this even deeper, because there's one more myth that's killing men silently. The belief that being a nice guy is enough. There's a silent epidemic in modern masculinity. It's not weakness. It's not laziness. It's the illusion of the nice guy. The man who believes that if he just agrees more, pleases more, bends more, he'll be loved more. He says yes when he wants to say no. He sacrifices his standards to keep her happy. He walks on eggshells to avoid conflict. And then he wonders why she loses interest, why the connection fades, why she starts treating him like an emotional accessory rather than a man. Here's the cold truth. Nice guys aren't respected, and if she doesn't respect you, she can't love you. Because what most men don't understand is this. A woman doesn't test a man to see if he's nice. She tests him to see if he'll break. She'll challenge your boundaries. She'll question your decisions. She'll throw emotional storms your way. Not because she's cruel, but because she's wired to find out. Is this a man who can stand on his own? And when you fold, when you flinch, when you backpedal, when you try to fix everything just to keep her calm, she doesn't feel safer. She feels disappointed. Because deep down, every woman craves a man she can trust, not just with her body, but with her emotions, with her chaos, with her worst moods, her worst days, her worst instincts. And if she can emotionally move you, shake you, steer you, she knows one thing. You're not the rock. You're not the anchor. You're not the man she thought you were. This is where the nice guy dies. He thinks he's being kind, but kindness without strength is just weakness in disguise. He thinks he's being emotionally available, but emotion without self-control becomes neediness. He thinks compromise will lead to closeness, but over-accommodation only kills polarity. Women don't need another therapist. They don't need another best friend. They need a man who's solid, unshakable, grounded. A man who listens, yes, but who doesn't abandon his truth to avoid discomfort. A man who can hold space for her emotions without drowning in them. A man who can disagree with calm conviction and not panic when things get tense. This is the paradox of female attraction. The man she feels safest with is often the man she can't manipulate. Not because he's harsh, not because he's distant, but because his approval can't be bought, because his values aren't up for negotiation. That's the man who makes her feel free to be feminine, because she knows he's already standing strong in his masculinity. Let me be even more clear. The nice guy adapts himself to fit her world. The Stoic man brings her into his. The nice guy apologizes for having boundaries. The Stoic man enforces them without flinching. The nice guy fears rejection. The Stoic man knows that if a woman walks away because he stood firm, she was never meant for him to begin with. This isn't about being a jerk. It's about being whole. A man who doesn't rely on approval to feel valuable. A man who's already fulfilled with or without her. That's power. And women are drawn to power, not dominance, not control, but grounded, inner power. It's why she keeps going back to the man who challenged her, the one who didn't give her everything up front, the one who knew his worth so deeply he never had to prove it. She might complain about him. She might say, "He drove me crazy," or "I hated how mysterious he was." But her eyes light up when she says it, because that man made her feel something, because he didn't bend, because when she pushed, he stood still. That's what burns a permanent memory into her psyche. Not your kindness, not your availability, but your presence under pressure. And here's the most important part. You don't become that man by learning how to manipulate her. You become that man by mastering yourself. You don't need to play games. You don't need to fake confidence. You need to reclaim your backbone. The one life, and maybe women, have conditioned you to hide. Because at the end of the day, the man who gets the girl isn't the one who tries the hardest. It's the one she can't shake, the one she can't test into submission, the one who holds his ground, even when it means walking alone. Respect always comes before desire. And if she doesn't respect you, she can't truly desire you. Nice guys finish last because they never finish themselves. They're incomplete. They live in reaction. They live to please. And what pleases women momentarily will never make them stay permanently. So stop aiming to be nice. Aim to be true. Aim to be rooted. Aim to be the one man in her life who doesn't need her approval to know who he is. Because when she finds that man, she doesn't want to test him anymore. She wants to follow him. She's not in love with you. She's in love with the version of you that exists in her mind. Let that sink in. Because this one truth, if you truly grasp it, will reshape the way you approach love, attraction, and your sense of power as a man. You may think that women fall for you because of your character, because of how well you treat them, because of how responsible, caring, loyal, or stable you are. But what she responds to isn't reality. It's perception. And perception, especially in relationships, is almost never rational. It's emotional. It's psychological. It's subconscious. When a woman interacts with you, she's not processing you like a spreadsheet. She's not weighing your pros and cons with a calculator. She's feeling you through the lens of her own internal world. Her insecurities, her past experiences, her unmet needs, her fantasies, her fears. She projects, she imagines, she constructs a story. And in that story, you're not a man. You're a symbol, a character, a force. This is why two women can meet the exact same man, and one will be obsessed while the other feels nothing. Not because of him, but because of what he triggers inside her. Now, here's where most men destroy their chances without even knowing it. They try to prove themselves logically. They try to explain who they are. They try to clarify their intentions, show consistency, play it safe. But by doing that, they strip away all the emotional tension. They give her too much too soon. They remove the unknown. And when she no longer has to wonder about you, she stops feeling you. Because emotional engagement is built on contrast, on uncertainty, on that subtle pull between "I think I know him" and "there's something I still don't understand." Mystery isn't manipulation. Mystery is respect for your own depth. When you lay yourself bare in the first few conversations, trying to win her trust, what you actually do is destroy her curiosity. You turn yourself into a known quantity, and once she feels she's figured you out, she categorizes you. Safe, predictable, easy to replace. That's when things start to go cold. She doesn't text as much. She doesn't light up when you message her. She's just not feeling it anymore. And you sit there wondering how it changed so fast. But you didn't change. What changed was the frame. In the beginning, you were unknown. You were an open loop, unresolved, intriguing, emotionally triggering in a way she couldn't explain. But the moment you gave everything away, the moment she stopped wondering, her brain closed the book. This is why it's never about being the better man. It's about being the man who maintains emotional tension. You don't have to be perfect. You have to be unpredictable. Not chaotic, but dynamic. Unpredictability creates fascination. Fascination builds emotional imprinting. And emotional imprinting leads to attachment. This is also why comfort alone will never keep her. If the only emotion she feels around you is peace, she'll eventually lose interest. Peace without polarity becomes background noise. It fades. It blends in. It becomes forgettable. But when she experiences moments of intensity, when you challenge her mind, when you stir something primal, when your presence triggers reflection, attraction, uncertainty, and desire, you carve yourself into her nervous system. She starts to think about you at random times. She starts dreaming about you, even if she doesn't want to. Because you're not a checklist, you're an emotional disruption. Now listen closely. This doesn't mean you become aloof, or distant, or rude. It means you remain centered while projecting depth. Don't let her perception of you build randomly. You shape it, not with fake stories or flashy bravado, but by being a man who doesn't reveal everything, who doesn't always react, who doesn't always explain, a man who creates space for her to wonder. Because when a woman is wondering, she's investing, and when she's emotionally invested, attraction grows. This is the silent art of being unforgettable. It's not about what you say. It's not about what you give. It's about how you're experienced. The Stoic man doesn't chase perception. He controls it, not through manipulation, but through mastery of presence. He walks into a room and doesn't need to be noticed, but can't be ignored. He lets others project what they want, but he remains unmoved by it. He knows that how a woman feels about him says more about her than it does about him. But he still understands how to create a lasting emotional story. One built on contrast, power, calm, and mystery. Because in the end, women don't stay with the most logical choice. They stay with the one man whose story in their mind is too powerful to walk away from. Not the man who gave them everything, but the man who made them feel everything. A woman might fall for a man who excites her. She might obsess over the one who gives her butterflies, the one who pulls her into mystery, the one she can't quite figure out. But she only stays with the man who makes her feel emotionally safe, not physically safe. That's a given. Not financially secure. That's temporary. What she truly craves, beneath all the surface-level desires, is emotional security. A feeling that says, no matter how chaotic I feel inside, this man will not be moved. That kind of safety is rare. It's not found in sweet words or carefully written texts. It's not found in constant reassurance or men who fold themselves smaller just to keep the peace. It's found in presence, in grounded energy, in the unshakable calm of a man who doesn't flinch, even when she's storming, because women are emotional by nature. Not in a negative sense, but in a dynamic sense. They are changeable, like water, fluid, shifting, evolving. One moment laughing, the next moment unsure. It's not manipulation. It's not instability. It's biology. Their emotional system is wired for motion, movement without warning, which means that the only thing that soothes that chaos is a man who remains unchanged by it. Here's what most men get wrong. They try to fix her feelings. They try to say all the right things. They try to solve her anxiety, her sadness, her emotional waves, thinking, if I just comfort her enough, she'll feel better and love me more. Wrong. When you try to fix her feelings, you're sending her this message. I can't handle your emotions, so I need you to change them. And whether she realizes it or not, that weakens her trust in you. Even worse, some men react emotionally to her emotions. She's anxious, so they become anxious. She's angry, so they escalate. She's distant, so they become needy. And now she's not only managing her chaos, she's managing yours. That's not emotional safety. That's emotional instability. The Stoic man does something radically different. He doesn't flinch. He doesn't react. He doesn't panic. He stays centered. Not cold, not distant, but present, calm, grounded in who he is. And that calmness, especially in moments when she feels most irrational, is what makes her feel truly safe. She doesn't need you to say the perfect thing. She needs you to be a mountain, still unmoving, silently watching the storm pass. That's the paradox. The more chaos she feels inside, the more she longs for a man who doesn't crumble in the face of it. When she raises her voice, your tone stays level. When she throws emotion at you like a test, you don't fold. When she's uncertain, anxious, spinning out, you don't try to stop her. You just stand firm and let her feel what she needs to feel. And when it's over, when the emotional waves settle, what does she see? She sees you, still standing, still clear, still calm, still you. That's what makes a woman fall deeper, not because you saved her, not because you understood her perfectly, but because you didn't disappear when her emotions became difficult. That's emotional safety. That's masculine leadership. That's the kind of man women follow, trust, and refuse to walk away from. Let me be clear. This doesn't mean you tolerate disrespect. Being unshakable isn't the same as being passive. You can call out bad behavior without raising your voice. You can hold boundaries without getting emotional. You can walk away without drama if someone crosses the line. Because Stoic men don't tolerate chaos. They contain it. And because you're not moved by every shift in her emotional weather, she instinctively begins to rely on you. Not for answers, but for energetic stability. She knows she can be vulnerable with you, that she can cry, be scared, be irrational, and you won't punish her or lose your center. That makes her feel safe to open, safe to let go, safe to surrender, not out of weakness, but out of deep trust in your strength. This is why a woman may leave a man who's perfect on paper, but stay loyal to the man who feels like home in the storm. It's not about what you do for her. It's about who you become in the moments when her emotions are at their peak. Do you stay rooted? Do you hold presence? Do you let her feel without trying to control what she feels? Because in the end, that's what makes you irreplaceable. Not your looks, not your status, not your charm, but your ability to remain calm when her entire world is shaking. That's what separates a Stoic man from every other man she's met. She doesn't want you to fix her. She doesn't want you to coddle her. She wants to feel that in your presence. She doesn't have to hold everything together anymore, because you already are. You've been taught that to win in love, you must give more. More compliments, more attention, more of yourself. But that belief has cost you the one thing a man must never lose: his center. A woman may be drawn to your charm. She may enjoy your looks, your ambition, your sense of humor. But what makes her stay, what makes her truly submit to your presence, is something far more rare. It's your stillness, your calm under pressure, your refusal to bend just to be liked, your ability to hold firm in the face of her storms, her tests, her chaos, without breaking, without chasing, without folding. The unforgettable man isn't the most handsome. He's the most grounded. He's not desperate to prove himself. He's not threatened by her emotions. He doesn't over-explain, overshare, or overgive. Why? Because he doesn't seek permission to be enough. He already knows he is. And that knowing, that inner certainty, is what captivates her soul in a way she can't explain. The Stoic man isn't perfect. He's not cold. He simply doesn't move unless he chooses to. And that stillness, that quiet power, is what makes him unforgettable. She may forget the man who flattered her. She may forget the man who texted her non-stop. She may even forget the man who gave her everything she asked for. But she will never forget the man she couldn't shake. The man who didn't need her, but chose her. The man who led, who listened, who remained unbothered by her tests and unafraid of her feelings. That man leaves an imprint no woman can erase. So stop asking what she wants. Stop contorting yourself to fit her story. Start writing your own. Live with purpose, speak with clarity, act with conviction, and hold your ground, no matter how loud the world gets. Because the man who cannot be moved cannot be forgotten.